Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Team Down TV's coverage of CG's League of Legends Oceanic Open Ladder. You're here with myself, Uber, and Rusty BB in our third game of the night. We've dropped down into our losers bracket, or lower bracket, politically correct, for this one. It's going to be Team Expired, our boys, going up against Shift. So Shift on the blue side, Team Expired on the red side. Pretty much into our picks and bans. Zenk already had his Jinx banned away. Pantheon's going to be taken away from Jews as well. And Rumble is going to be taken away from, you guessed it, Rumble.
Yeah, very aptly named champion, so I'm going to name there, isn't it? He's actually got 750 games as Rumble for this season, being the 2014 one. The closest champion after that, 44 games as Leona, so I definitely think that was a wise ban. The Jinx and Pantheon bans coming out, they're not main champions from any of the players of Expired, but they are still strong champions nonetheless, and maybe it's banned for a specific reason, like they want to pick a particular champion from those bans. Like denying the Morgana might mean they want hard initiation or some kind of siege or poke that a Morgana can't deny, for example.
Okay, well obviously, you know, Jinx is also looking a little bit more viable now with a lot of those main AD carries actually sort of being balanced a little bit in recent times. So see if that is actually why she's been picked up here, or if it's another reason entirely. But we're going to see the rest of our bans. Talon being taken away from Ramble. So Rumble and Ramble are in the same team, by the way. That's press B to blow. He is Ramble. So no Talon for him. Most of his games this season were played on Talon. And Rumble, actually, Ramble plays a lot of as well. So all going to be very confusing for you guys. There's going to be a Gnar lock-in, though, for Rumble. Presumably in the top lane.
Yeah, I mean, it's a bit hard to say at this stage. Ramble does have a history of playing top lane. Not entirely sure what Rumble would default to after the Rumble is banned. I'm going to get sick of saying the word Rumble soon. Gnar's a very strong pick though, safe first pick. Easy to lane with, like he's ranged, he's going to be a reliable first pick, as we see the Janna and Corki come out as the bot lane for Expired.
Okay, Janna Corki being picked there, so Zenk and Ricky Raccoon going to be the ones picking those ones up. I should make a mention also Hamilton Mattress being brought into the fold here for Team Expired. Still continuing the trend of ex-pro players now being pulled into this team, but nonetheless, obviously, he was Envy's jungler, and even before there was Mind Freak's support player, so Hamilton been well and truly around the traps. Lovely guy, actually, got to meet him in packs, but he will be in the top lane, presumably for this game for Team Expired. Now, it's going to be a Lucian lock-in here for Acidic. We might even see a Nidalee.
Yeah, Nidalee, actually don't quote me on this, but I've seen a lot of Nidalee jungles, and I would love to see that right now. It's a very underrated but extremely strong pick, because you can throw a spear out, and you may not be in range to dash, but you can use your pounce, and then smite a minion, and it resets the pounce cooldown again, so you can pounce twice in rapid succession to get within range to actually do damage to someone. It's a very cheesy, but extremely strong pick, and I mean, Gnar's already been picked for the top lane, so unless it's an AP Nidalee mid, it may well be that jungle Nidalee.
That's gross. The double
it is
dash.
Gross.
The double dash, man. Really? Okay, well, we'll have to see. I actually have... Was it Fesh? Might even have been Fesh. I was watching a solo queue the other day actually playing that. I'm not too sure about that, but we'll have to see. I'll probably be able to tell if it's him or not by the way he plays it, but now we're waiting for the next two picks here for Team Expired. I know we're probably looking at this stage at filling out some of our mid lane, or even maybe even a jungler to pick here as well. It's kind of hard to say. I mean, there is a little bit of flex pick potential, obviously, in the Nidalee. It's always possible that she'll go mid lane, but I think the Nidalee jungle is a very valid point you bring up there, so we'll see if that's where they want to go with that one right now. Maokai and Lee Sin being hovered over. Two very safe, very robust picks here. We know Juves likes to be super aggressive. At least Lee Sin gives him some capacity to get out of trouble once he jumps in, instead of seeing him flash and Cataclysm someone as Jarvan, only to have them flash or dash out of his ult and then him sort of get caught. So we'll have to wait and see. Juves has had some time to sort of, and in his return from retirement, or real life as he put it, not really sure what that's supposed to be, but apparently it's a thing. Juves obviously now going to be probably on that lease in there. Now, last two picks here for Shift. What are we looking at?
We're looking at a Wukong potentially and a Braum. Now, I like the Braum pick. It's just another tank in the front line. Having the Nidalee, if she is the jungler, is not an extremely tank champion, mostly damage output. I believe it's an AP Nidalee. So having Braum as a frontline, in your face, maybe Rumble on Gnar is not Mega Gnar at the moment. You do need someone there for that. Now the Wukong, I don't know how I feel about it just yet. I'm assuming it's mid, or like, see, I still don't really know what's happening with their team comp right now. and I need to wait until they actually rearrange to see what's going on before I can make an assessment.
Well, that's been locked in. It's definitely going to be a Wukong. Not really sure where. Maybe see, it makes more sense for him to go jungle. But I think Fesh might also be drawing on the fact that some of his opponents are aware of his antics in solo queue. I'm pretty sure it was him that was on Nidalee jungle in that game, so maybe trying to pull the wool over our eyes with that one here. It doesn't seem to have really impacted the picks for Team Expired too much. I mean, Lee Sin Maokai isn't necessarily a response to anything, just trying to pick a robust lineup. I guess, the core of the team is definitely going to be coming from that Xerath. And we know that we didn't actually get to see Paul 4 play Xerath. I think he played Jace last time, but he was very, very big on it the game prior to that, is what Jude has told us. So we might see that one locked away here. And it's probably, it's presumably going to be going up against that Nidalee in the mid lane. Now, if this is a mid lane Nidalee, how has that changed for her? How has mid lane changed for Nidalee, and how does the matchup look like into the Xerath?
Nidalee's she hasn't changed that much in terms of laning in regards to power. If she hits a spear, it's harder to hit the spear because they reduce the width on it, but if it hits, she has more follow-up now. She's not entirely just throwing a spear out and letting it go and just trying to hit another spear 3 seconds later. She has the potential to be able to pounce and actually all in with the swipe and just all this damage, the execute damage increase on the Q. It presents more of a threat from not just spears. So Xerath, very good champion to counter if it is the Nidalee mid. Lots of poke, keep her down, waste all of her mana on actually healing herself. It puts less of it on spears because it's really hard for Nidalee to throw out both at the same time, to heal and poke. But, I mean, looking at team comps alone, I feel like Expired have just picked champions they think are strong with no real dedicated team comp or team fight or any actual goal behind it. They've just picked champions they are comfortable with, which
That's
is...
That's a mid Wukong.
Is it?
That's a
yeah,
mid
okay,
Wukong.
it is. Yeah. Yeah, right. Mid Wukong. It's actually really strong. I hate it, and I want nothing to do with it, and I'm going to use the word filthy a lot this game.
I remember back when bruisers were really in vogue. They just had the run of the meta. Zed was, had just come out sort of recently, and all of a sudden there were all these bruisers, and Wukong mid was one of these. This is before the Zhonya's build path was changed to allow for obviously the new item there that what it's called now, the bracelet nonetheless. So that was before mid laners had access to early on sort of armor and a way to increase that. So bruisers were so strong in mid because they could just gap close, jump on an APK who was squishy and had no armor, and just wrecked them. A little bit of a different story here. And it may force a bit of a different path out of Pawpaw, maybe an early Zonies instead of that Morellonomicon, but that's Ramble, and that's a mid Wukong.
Yeah, and knowing Ramble and having played with and against him a fair amount, I know that he loves to roam. So being Wukong into a Xerath matchup, if he manages to find a way to control the lane, and I mean early damage coming out of a Wukong is far greater than that of a Xerath. So he'll probably look to harass, poke, push the guy out of lane, and then disappear. Because that's what he loves to do. They ban Talon to get rid of that potential, but Wukong can do just that. He can come in invisible, you can't even see him coming, and he's just going to dash on you and ult. And I mean, that's such a comfort zone for Ramble. Even on a different champion, it's the play style is going to be the exact same. And I mean, this mid lane could determine the whole game from how it plays out.
What's interesting, I think that Shift is, has some prominent solo queue players, but we are yet to see them prove themselves as 5 players. So all that we've seen on solo queue and those that like to spectate challenger games like myself, because I don't sleep, I've seen these guys a fair bit, but as a team or as a part of 5 guys, I mean, it's just going to be a completely different story. Whereas, guys like Hamilton, Juves, Ricky, Zank maybe to a degree as well, and even Paw recently have had that experience of playing with the team. So be interested to see how that changes the face of this matchup. And as you said, Ramble is the kind of guy who likes to roam. He likes to create opportunities for himself as well as sort of his teammates to pick up some kills. So let's see if that's what he tries to do here, how the lane actually goes for him. It should be really interesting to see how that evolves. Of course, thanks to Liz for Seeker's arm guard. I should really know that, but a bit of a brain fart. I've had a few tonight if you've been keeping score at home. That's 2. At least so far. But a Braum Lucian in the bottom lane as well. That was the OP matchup when Braum first came out. Everyone did their, Bronze 5 theory crafting and somehow figured out that, lots of auto attacks in a short amount of time on Braum's passive would be good because he gets stuns, etc., etc. Is that still the case? I mean, is it still as strong as it used to be? Obviously, Lucian has changed a little bit in patch 4.21, sorry.
Yeah, it's not as strong as it used to be, but that's given the fact that Lucian used to be really strong and got nerfed because of that. The champion combo itself is still really good. Like, Braum's just this front lane, unmovable object with a giant shield to boot to stop you from hitting the other person in the lane, in this case Lucian. And if Braum manages to hit an auto attack or a spell, or a Q rather, Lucian with the Light Slinger passive, auto attack, one spell, auto attack, like maybe Braum can hit one in between, it's a stun. Like it's near to a guaranteed stun. So every time that the Braum hits a spell, you need to be a little bit more careful as the person who has been hit by it. The lane itself, it's going to be pretty hard to move those two out of lane. Having a Janna and Corki though, there's a lot of poke potential behind those two. Every time Corki throws out a spell and autos, with that true damage bonus and a Janna shield to boot, like there's a lot of damage probably going to go back and forth between these two, and we'll just see who can, pun intended, outlast the other lane.
All right, well, that's obviously what we're looking forward to seeing here. Bottom lane will be one where surely some opportunities are going to be able to be opened up here through the Lucian and Braum combination. This mid lane, though, going to be interesting. I mean, there's a lot of those things you can't really theorycraft against it. I mean, talking Nidalee jungle and Wukong mid lane. I mean, we saw that Wukong picked up. We maybe thought that they were, going back to the Nidalee mid lane, but no, they're going to stay the course and go with those picks here. So, I mean, what does it look like? I mean, can Lee Sin really counter jungle? Can he really dual Nidalee those early levels? Is that a possibility, or are there some conditions, some caveats to that?
It's not something I'm that familiar with, but like based off Nidalee and Lee Sin themselves, Lee Sin's always going to be able to invade people, but Lee Sin may get low from his own jungle. It may deny that possibility. Nidalee has traps. Nidalee can put traps anywhere she wants, strategically placed, to stop the Lee Sin from invading. And maybe Lee Sin invades too low. She has an execute. It's really volatile, to be honest with you. I don't know how the Nidalee jungles, how healthy she stays, the potential that she has for invading, any of that stuff I'm not entirely familiar with. But both of those champions in the jungle have an execute on it, like they could use on each other at any stage. They both have a form of sustain, one with a shield, one with a heal. They both have a lot of mobility, so they could end up being a very even fight. Like, I'm not entirely sure.
Hugely important point, I think, here is the volatility of those jungles at the early levels. The damage can be either minimal or great, depending on the situation, and that's kind of what we're going to be looking out for now as we do roll out onto the Rift. On the blue side is going to be Team Shift, and on the red side, going to be Team Expired. A little bit of background for you guys. Both these teams actually have moved down into the lower bracket. Team Expired managed to beat Loser Fruits team, I don't know what the name of it is now, it escapes me, to get back here. So, I mean, Team Expired, you may be expecting to sort of perform a little bit better in the tournament than they did. A little bit, I think, frustrated at dropping down in the first round, but they still have the chance to make the way back up, and we, Expired fought very, very well from the loser bracket last time around as well. So if they make a good run through this one, they're going to accrue enough of those important circuit points to cement their place in our Oceanic Challenger Leagues. Remember, ladies and gentlemen, this competition isn't just for a bit of RP and the skin as well for winning, but also teams are going to be accruing circuit points based on where they place. From first will get a certain amount, and all the way down till 18th or something like that. So, for the most part, everyone's getting these points. So there's 2 tournaments, and you can compete in both of them. So, I mean, by rights, any team that competes in both tournaments and plays well will pretty much guarantee themselves a spot in the Challenger League, which, of course, is a gateway into the Pro League. So that's how it is all going to work here. I think Zenk is yet to connect here. So he has just joined us back in game, and now we are ready to roll out on the Rift.
Yeah, looking at these team comps now that we've got coming into this game, the Nidalee jungle is still something that's weirding me out, but the part that she plays in the team is going to be the poke. It'll go well with Rumble on Nah. So if I ever say Rumble, I mean Nah. Lucian has plenty of poke, he's got that ult. Wukong has a lot of hard initiation with a Braum. Now, that's well-rounded in my opinion. That's pretty much everything you want. Like, the poke that you have can also be combined with hard initiation. They've got a lot of siege potential when it comes down to poking, maybe not so much in range, but looking at Expired's team in turn, they've got a lot of counter to that siege, so I doubt that you'll see any siege coming out from Rumble's team here.
Okay, so yeah, obviously it's justifiable there isn't a Rumble in this game, because Rumble is Nah and Nah is Rumble. Work that one out. But now it's a 5-man grouping here. Ramble actually poked himself out of the bush first and was seen, so they've made it very, very clear to Team Expired that they are positioned up in that bush. Fesh is going to take a bit more damage than he otherwise would have liked to with the detonation of the sapling. And he's Nidalee. He's always going to have the health available to him over the first few levels. He's not too deterred at this stage. But now, this has sort of prompted a response here from Expired. Now, grouping up. Fesh goes quite low, actually, there. If Juice can... Did he have his Q? I'm not really sure at this stage. He might be able to go in. Yep. Try to go for the execute. Yes, no. The flash from Fesh, though. So, good result here so far from Expired. And very brazen poking forward here from Shifters. Cost them a flash.
One thing to note here that I like, or that interests me even more so, because I'm just going to pay a lot of attention to this Nidalee jungle. She started W, so she started with Trap and Pounce. Now, as a jungle Nidalee, the reason she probably started Pounce is because if you can execute a smaller minion, it'll reset the Pounce cooldown to 1 second, and then you can Pounce again. So buffs like Wraiths, if you do it right, maybe there's a secret way to do it that I'm not aware of. You can probably get each individual small Wraith to reset the Pounce and get 4 successive Pounces to increase the buff clearing potential.
All right, we'll keep an eye on that one. Let's see how that one works out. So far, Ramble's been putting a lot of pressure on Pawpaw in the mid lane. You can see Zenk now getting a lot of damage on towards Acidic as well. Got to prompt the auto attack from Outlast there, putting that one stack on Zenk, and that's enough to make Expired's bot lane just back up a little bit.
Yeah, the Nidalee has done that a little bit. She's using the Pounce, but it's on the big minion first, because you want to prioritize the damage output and then move to the smaller minion. That's good to see that coming out. There's a lot of poke coming out in the bot lane here from Corki onto the Lucian. He's getting extremely low. I guess it's the Janna Corki poke potential is phenomenal, and it's being used to full effect here from Zenk loving to be aggressive in the lane.
Yeah, I mean, Winter's Bite isn't really enough deterrence against the team going forward when your AD carries down to 100 health. It's going to force Acidic back really early on in the piece, and there we go. Rumble's going to make his first transformation of the game there in the top lane. So far, fairly even Stevens there. As far as that matchup is concerned. And yeah, Acidic going back at level 1 here, so it's not good at all, really. I think it just got a little bit too high. He took a little bit too much poke now. Rumble and Hamilton going head-to-head here in the top lane, and so far the trade well in favour of the Gnar. But here comes Juice here. The Arcane Smash comes out as well. Rumble is only a little cute Gnar at this stage. Juice is going to miss the Q, though. The red buff will help to try and slow down Rumble, but it's not going to be enough.
A well-timed gank by Lee Sin there, I would say. It just became Mini Gnar again from Mega Gnar. It loses a lot of the effective tank stats, but there's no real way to follow it up. Hamilton was a little bit too low from the trade with the Gnar earlier. The flash was to safety. There was not much that you could do there, but it was a really well-timed gank.
All right, so Rumble will continue to be a persistent annoyance in that top lane now as Hamilton just tries to some CS away. You can see Juice now being forced to run away from Fesh there. He went quite low to the Krugs, and now Hamilton's been forced to come on in as well. Fesh just trying to mess with this jungle, take as many camps away as he possibly can. That spear surely a warning sign of a Nidalee coming at you out of the bushes. And mind you, obviously, she does get that movement speed boost from being in bushes. So I think she still has that one. So definitely going to help her movements through there as well. And she's positioned herself near that mid lane now. Definitely starting to do a bit of counter jungling.
Yeah, I mean, it's probably Nidalee coming into her prime as far as I'm concerned. She can put traps down anywhere she likes, and if they're to deny a Lee Sin from having his own jungle, that's going to be really, really big, and that's going to affect the Lee Sin a lot. I mean, she had vision of Lee Sin when he ganked top lane, so she would have reacted appropriately and invaded and maybe got a little bit of ward coverage and trap positioning to stop him from taking the next camp. He got low from, is it the Krugs, and managed to push him out of lane, jungle, so now she has control essentially when she chooses of what Lee Sin's going to do in the jungle from now on, and she stole the Wraiths, she knows that he's going to react by going to Wolves, then you could maybe even assume that the gank's going to come to mid or bottom within the next minute. You can essentially time out what's going to happen well in advance from such a small invade like that.
A lot of important information going to be given over to Fesh, supposedly anyway. In the bot lane, the whole time you were giving that very excellent analysis, they've just been back and forth fighting here. You can see Outlast always looking to use that Unbreakable to try and put a little bit of damage reduction. The Zenk does get stunned up there and he's going to be forced to get away from those concussive blows, and Ricky Raccoon had to back up as well. They're going to be very dicey matchup at the moment in that lane, and you can see constantly they're fighting, drawing the camera over towards them as well, might I just add. The mid lane as well, actually, Pawpaw start to accrue a little bit of a lead here, and you can see Juice is actually positioned now for maybe a counter gank, or at least just to help out in that lane. It's a Brutalizer pickup as well for Ramble.
Yeah, the Wukong damage isn't that amazing early, but he scales extremely well with items. Just see a fight break down bottom.
There. City going to get the exhaust straight on him there now as Juice is taking all that damage now. Ricky just going to be hurting as well. We can see City going super low. One more auto, that was enough there. Zinc now flashing forward to pick that one up. Phosphorus bomb going to land on towards Outlast. There should be enough kill potential here, but no. Juice does miss, of course, the Sonic Wave there and not going to be able to follow that one up. Zenk, had to pop the kill there. That tower would have been his downfall there. Got to watch out for those minions. He's down to about 40 health. He will survive. A little bit messy, but the kill still picked up. Acidic goes down, but heal was forced from Zenk.
That was extremely close from Zenk. He's lucky that he had heal at that particular stage. That was so well played by Braum. He dodged the Sonic Wave, and then he exhausted. He saved exhaust. I'm not sure if that was intentional, like to not save the Lucian earlier, but the way that he saved exhaust actually saved himself at that stage. So that was really well played by him. Exhausted the last auto attack that would have killed him, if not for that.
Okay, well, he's going to be able to live to fight yet another day. The Rumble getting Hypheon towards Hamilton Mattress, and there's Ramble doing the roaming thing. It's going to pay off there. Kill going over towards Ramble there. Ramble and Rumble, that's just going to kill me. The Cyclone being used there by that Wukong, and they might just pressure this lane a little bit more. I mean, that Pawpaw has just got to be ready for the eventuality of Ramble leaving that lane and looking to try and impact other ones.
Yeah, you'll find that Ramble loves to hit 6 and disappear to another lane. He's got that Rengar history in behind him, so he constantly does it. What you need to do here as Expired is to react to that accordingly. You should know roughly the timer of his ult, say like a 2-minute cooldown. He's got a bit of CDR now, so it might be less. And what they've done now is they've noticed that he's top. They know he stayed top to push a wave, so they've reacted by pushing the mid lane. And now Pawpaw's getting more farm than Ramble is. Difference being that Ramble did get a successful gank off and he got a kill, so they're about even still. But if you can deny a kill in the future or a gank in the future, you'll see Pawpaw push ahead slowly but surely and manage to do far more damage.
Okay, Acidic and Outlast trying to freeze this wave a little bit here in the bottom lane. Actually, Hamilton blew his flash there. I think he was trying to flash Twisted Advance Rumble while he was caught under the tower, taking damage, but didn't manage to get onto him now. And there's Fesh now sort of being caught out a little bit here. Everyone is in position now. Ricky's going to take some concussive blows there as well, and Fesh is dark. Might even chase onto this one as well. Unbreakable comes out, won't stop the stun though coming out. Now Outlast finds himself in a little bit of a compromising position. A lot of damage coming his way, but Ramble was in the bottom lane as well. So both teams just going to back away and cover their losses.
Yeah, there was a lot of poke coming out, but there wasn't really a potential for a kill there. I feel like they're all gravitating around that dragon, if not to do it, just for the control, because Expired in particular, I know they value this dragon a lot, and it's a big deal if it goes down. So you'll see them constantly want to do things like that. They rotated from mid to bottom to put down a bit of poke, try and secure control of the area while they did it, but not necessarily for a kill or for anything overly adventurous.
Okay, well, as it stands, 1 kill apiece with the first turret of the game having gone over towards Team Expired, and now I guess Pawpaw gets the pleasure of Ramble's company back in that mid lane, and as a result, just trying to put a little bit more damage now over towards him. Does have his blue buff as well, so yeah, as you said, that CS count for him is just ticking up and up. He probably have a lot of money in his pocket at this point as well, so have to keep an eye on how that one unfolds. In the top lane as well, Rumble will actually pick up that outer turret there. Hamilton Mattress is... He struggled a little bit in this game, actually. The burning the flash there was a bit awkward. There's a Cyclone towards Pawpaw. Pawpaw tries to flash away, get the E down, but Ramble read through it very well. It's going to have to be a barrier here for Pawpaw. It won't be enough as Ramble picks him up, and now in the top lane, Rumble is fighting on towards Hamilton Mattress. Now, he's only a little nah, but it's still enough to be chasing on. If he can get that hyper proc there, he does. Plenty of damage still coming out from the little guy as the spear whistles past Hamilton Mattress to see it. Juice tries to get there to save, but is kind of caught by Fesh as he does that. So it's 2 kills over the map in 2 separate occasions going over towards Shift.
And it seems to be that the problem at the moment is just that solo lanes are able to kill their respective opponent. You'd see Rumble being able to pressure the Maokai as Nah and push him out of lane, and like irrespective of what the junglers are doing right now, you're not seeing a massive impact from Fesh or at least Sin, but they're still winning their lanes. Wukong managing to solo kill Pawpaw in the mid lane. I don't know if Pawpaw respected the amount of damage that a Wukong can put out. He managed to hide around the corner, come in invisible, and just get a free ult off, and Pawpaw took the entire duration of it.
Now Drew's getting low, but there we go. Fesh is caught very, very low as well. Mattress will pick up that kill. Drews will get away somehow. Now Pawpaw is going to try and put a little bit more damage on towards Rumble as he backs away from the top lane, and bottom lane we saw a brief stash there as well. It was a good double knock-up by Ricky on towards Acidic and Outlast, but wasn't really much follow-up there at all. The big one was missed by Zenk, so a big opportunity when begging there in that bottom lane now. And it's getting a little bit messy. A fair few kills happening on the top side of the map. Hamilton spending a lot of time with people in his lane. He did pick up a kill, though, in that last engagement, so it's going to be a big help for him.
Yeah, it's good, and that's what he needs. The sooner a Maokai can get the ball rolling essentially to get that Rod of Ages, the sooner you actually start snowballing and scaling in your ability to trade with people and be relevant in team fights, because Rod of Ages being a scaling item over time, very important that you get that as soon as possible.
All right, now, people looking towards the Dragon, or at least towards Ramble here now. As Juice tries to go on towards it, but it's well played by Ramble there. Might have outplayed Juice here. The Culling going to go straight on towards them. Fest will get the execute. Now, Paw is also going to go down as well. Ramble still standing from that one as well. He roams so very hard. And now Dragon is going to be taken away by Shift here as well. There's not a lot at all that can be done from anyone on Expired. Zenk was way out of position to really do anything in that situation. Very simple catch and bait. Or sorry, bait and switch, into the catch and dragon scenario. Follow along if you can. Point is, first dragon going over towards Shift.
Yeah, it was right. It was a very smart dragon. They just managed to get the pick. Ramble doing his typical thing, you know, finding an opportunity to press R once it's off cooldown and using it. It's just, you're going to see it happen for the rest of the game. It's just the way he plays. And it's a play style that people aren't necessarily accustomed to. It's seen as a bit weird and different, and you're not really prepared for it. As you can see, he's even getting solo kills with it. Slight misplay by Juice there, actually missing his resonating strike, revealing Wukong with Tempest, but then kicking Wukong after already being essentially killed into the Zereth. So knocking him up there, resulting in essentially like a 2-kill trade, which should have been 1.
And it seemed like Paw just got up so quickly there as well. He just wasn't able to get any sort of space there. And yeah, a mistake from Juice. I mean, we saw what direction that Ramble went in while he was still using that Cyclone, no less. So it's just, it's devastating. But it's okay. Let's see if they can bounce back from this one. Of course, Expired aren't that far behind in gold, and they do have that tower as well. So it's all a matter of accruing more gold and getting it onto the right people now. It's going to be the second recall here for Zenk. Got a bit of gold on him as well, and he's going to turn that into a Sheen and some Brawler's gloves.
Yeah, the bot lane's been going reasonably well for Expired here against Rumble's team there. Bit behind in CS though, it's 86 to 101 at the moment. Items, you see there's a Brutalizer on the Lucian, he's looking to spike a little bit earlier, gives you that early to mid-game presence to be able to brawl and trade more so, whereas a lot of other people tend to go for that BF Sword Rush straight up. You want to get the Infinity Edge Static Shiv as soon as possible to scale mid to late game harder. But he's gone for that option now, looking to win lane it seems.
Well, those spears are starting to chunky hard there. Fesher's got the Magus Enchantment obviously behind that Trailblazer there, so definitely a bit of AP going in his direction, of course, 80 AP and 20% CDR, of course, the extra gold per large monster kill. He's helping junglers in the current patch right now. So Rumble actually, I don't know if he intended to transform there, or I don't know if he had much control over it. He kind of got caught, took a bit of damage, then was forced to use his abilities, which invariably took him closer to the tipping point where Jekyll becomes Hyde, or maybe it was the other way around. But there, was that a steal? It was a very good steal, I think, coming away from... No, Paw didn't get it. I don't know who did.
Zenk got it.
Zenk. Okay, everyone just contesting on that blue buff. It went to Zenk, so that's... I mean, if it's not going to go to Paw, Zenk isn't too bad an option to get that one as well. More rockets, less problems. Well, at least we hope so. Anyway, now it was a shocking orb that went missing over Rumble's shoulder. Looks like Shift again grouping up to do some work here in mid.
Yeah, it was a good decision actually to contest that blue buff. Now, it's in Italy, she's got the 20% CDR and the ability power coming out now. If you give her a blue buff, you're just gonna, you're not gonna see where the spears are coming from. She's a jungle Nidalee. They'll actually be coming from the jungle, and they are gonna be chunking. So the more blues you can take away from her, the better off you're gonna be for skirmishes.
All right, now the flash forward from Ricky to Zephyrin as well. Get a slow up towards Ramble, but there's the Cyclone yet again. Ricky gets blown up straight away. Zenk trying to back away as well. He's super low. He will drop as well. Hamilton too late to get there. Paw exhausted up now. Now he gets jumped on as well. Triple kill coming up for Ramble. The roaming man getting it done big time there. The Arcane Smash will knock away a City Kid. Will get enough damage to pick him up. But that fight was a 4-for-1. Well and truly in favour of Shift. And this Wukong mid pick has been so impactful, Rusty.
It's just been doing so much work, you know. Expired tried to initiate that fight. You saw the Flash Janna putting it down the W to slow them down and get in range to actually have their team react to it. But the Wukong just turned it around and instantly killed the Janna with one tick of his Cyclone, and Corki was no match for the rest of that, combined with a culling, as we see Flash coming in here from Juice.
Juice with the kick on towards the tower. It's a knock-up as well on Fest. They're just trying to hold him under that. It's worked thus far. Now Outlast is just going to have to walk away from it, but I think it's just going to be too much damage coming his way. They will pick up those couple kills there as well. I mean, Juice and Ricky kind of made nothing out, or something out of nothing, should I say. They're quite aggressive there as well. The kick and the Monsoon to try and keep Fesh in behind that tower. It did work out, but what's the power play right here, Rusty? What really can Expired do now with this time? It's still a fair way away from Dragon. What are their options?
Well, I mean, they've got a minute and a half till Dragon spawns. You've got Lucian in the top lane. Your best reactive decision would be to push the bottom tower, or to try and just get control. So you can see they're looking, as I've actually just said, that to push the bottom tower. They are going to try and get people low or secure the Dragon control from having people low, and then hope to continue that control into when the Dragon spawns, because you'll look to see them try and contest that 100%.
Alright, well, so a lot of damage on towards Ramble there, forced him well away from that tower. Just point out that there was only just now that Ramble's bought boots there, so he went without boots for 16 minutes of the game. It clearly didn't cost him too much. He was always able to get in there and get it done, but big prioritization towards getting damage behind that Cyclone and just general Wukong mess. Now, Dragon up in 45 seconds. Drew's having to back away from the Rumble there as well. And Outlast is coming in his direction. Looks like both teams are really looking over that part of the map. Mid was pushed in quite heavily, so going to be a little while before the rest of Shift are able to sort of push up over towards that part of the map now. And everyone is surely going to be setting up for this one. Just to remind you guys, the first Dragon went over towards Shift there. And it's going to be up to, of course, Expired to pick up the next.
Yeah, you can see Expired just all recall basically simultaneously with about 40 seconds until the Dragon spawn. That gives you enough time to be able to react to the Dragon. So recall, get your items, get that spike that you want in your items, so you're actually as strong as possible for when it spawns. Because God forbid you have to contest the Dragon, you want to be as strong as possible. It just makes sense to do that. You see, much everyone on the other side here on blue side haven't recalled. They were going to. And then Gnar cancelled his recall. I guess he's content with the fact that he can become Mega Gnar and have the stats anyway. Nidalee went and got the blue buff, so they're pretty much all prepped for this.
Oh, there we go. Rambo comes in from the back. Actually gets knocked away, but managed to get a decent knock up there with the Cyclone now. He's sort of forced it back on away. Acidic was super low before that fight even started there, and he's going to go even lower now, forced it back right on away. We're going to see Riley the Arcane come out. Will he get the kill? Rumble will pick up Hamilton Matches there. Jude is going to eat a spear and be forced it back away. Shocking orb hits underwood special. He goes super low now as well. Rumble is in the mix. It's a good Monsoon from Rika Raccoon, but will it be enough? Rumble and Outlast realizing there's no follow-up there, and Rumble is running out of time to do his damage. They're going to have to back away, but it might be a bit of a chase here as well. Rumble goes straight over the wall for the jump, and Zek right behind him there, gonna eat the brick as well. A lot of damage towards Zank, but Rumble will of course die. Not a huge amount of damage on that Gnar yet. The Brutalizer is good, but it's not quite gonna be enough. It was a big fight, and well, I don't know. Expired kind of played a fighting retreat for the most part, but they're gonna work on Dragon.
Yeah, look, they tried to kite back and make the most of what their team can provide it, as Ramble is being a little bit cheeky here, trying to poke them off so they can't do the Dragon. It was well done by him to stop it. Look, they disengaged from start to finish on that fight. Wukong initiated, but as he dashed in, Juves kicked him away. Like, denied the entire thing, and then just bursted him down instantly. Braum shield was good. Not enough, though.
Oh, Juves, he's gone too deep this time. Oh, dear. Yes, Acidic will pick that one up there. He thought he could have had the measure of Lucian there, but got turned around on him. Fesh getting on to the spot just in time. His first kill coming up there as well for Acidic, so he needed that one. Definitely. Hamilton being forced to back away. Dragon looks like a better option here for Shift at this stage, with Paw having to back away himself now, having gone quite low, and it is pretty easy pickings right now for Shifters. I mean, there's got to be an attempt to contest here. Hamilton and Ricky Raccoon walking forward, and Ramble is always on the periphery though. He's always off to the side, waiting to jump in there and mess you up. His Cyclone is now off cooldown as of just that second. So Paw and Zank being so low makes this super risky. Hamilton knows he can get close. Riley Arcane might be using it trying to take this away. You can see who Ramble is looking for here. He's looking for Paw, and Paw just going to get jumped on there. I don't know if you knew that he was revealed by that ward, by the Dragon. Will go over towards Shift there. Ramble going to be able to get away. No, not quite. Zank will pick him up now. Ricky having to run away from Outlast and Fesh. Not a matter on Nidalee, but he can still get around in that Cougar form. Now forced to back on away. Zank coming back with Juves, Ricky, and Hamilton Matches. They're going to jump on that Nidalee and pick that one up as well. But still, Dragon went over towards Shift. That's the second one there. Gold leaders mildly in favour of Shift. Not a huge amount, but 20 minutes into this game has yielded 22 kills. 3 towers already, make it 4, because I think Rumble, or Gnar, as Adstar has pointed out, will pick up this top tower.
Now, I feel like it was a mistake on Shift's part that actually do the Dragon. They got a pick, and it was on the jungler, so that the reactive decision is to do the Dragon because there's no smite to steal it. But they made the best out of a bad situation, essentially. Now, doing the Dragon was a bad idea. Actually, the way that Ramble played the fight, the Wukong, he tunnel visioned for the Xerath. Xerath didn't actually use his ult. There was no vision of this spot that he was in until Maokai used his W twisted advance to actually get onto the Wukong. So in return, Paw Paw was like, okay, I can do free damage now, used an ability, gave vision of himself, and instantly died.
Right, Chase is on now in the bottom lane. Outlast and Oceanic have found themselves well between a rock and a tree at this stage. Outlast is going to try and use a Glacial Fissure to get away, or at least disrupt the team. He should drop as well. Oceanic might be able to get away, and yes, he can. Fesh now here to try and do some damage back in response. Frost Queen's claim used on that Nidalee. She drops lows. A big one! Won't be able to connect quite, but Outlast did go down as well there. And now it's Twisted Advance straight over towards, I think that was Outlast. He dropped down there. Ricky going to use the Monsoon very, very cleverly there. And it's a quick 3 on the back foot there. And potentially this bottom tower, the wave isn't really in position right now for Expired, but they've got to start picking up objectives now. There's no Dragon available. This tower is definitely what they've got to pick.
Well, you know, noticing that, like, the difference between objectives right now is massive. The difference between champions and money is not that big. It's only 2k. Like, they're going to pick up a tower now. That brings it back to 1k. They've got all these objectives on offer for them to actually take, and all of the lead they had could be gone.
Oh, God. Ramble gets caught there. I think Ryan the Arcane used a little bit purely there just for Paw Paw to try and have some involvement in that kill. He wasn't. He didn't assist for that one at all, but not really sure what's going on there. A little bit of Fnatic-esque play down in that bush, and that's going to even the kill tally. We know, of course, we know very well that that doesn't really mean all that much in the grand scheme of things, but it looks like a little bit of playmaking potential has appeared on the side of Team Expired. It's all a matter if they can put the cogs in the right places and actually get everyone to stand in the right spot. And by right spot, I mean don't do a Paw Paw and stand just over the wall wearing vision of a ward, because you can see Ramble tunnel visioning towards them. But can I just say, despite that bottom tower being taken as well, Rusty, mid tower was picked up by Ramble there. So this guy is always, you know, if he's not involved in the team fight, he's picking up objectives. He's being a thorn in the side of Expired. In terms of individual performances, his has been one of the best in this game that I've seen.
Yeah, you know, he's always been really good at being a part of the game, playing a big part in what happens in the game, and whether it's win or lose, whether he plays well or good, he's the catalyst of what the outcome is. So he's playing really well right now, and you can see a lot of mistakes coming out of him though, like that push in the bot lane. He thought he was going to be cheeky and try and get a 1v4 quadra kill.
I don't know how that works, but Drew's now going to get just wrecked spear into his side, just securing that one up there as well. But Zank does pick up Ramble now. No Cyclone going to be available for at least another 30 odd seconds. So the 1-for-1 trade there trades jungler for mid laner or top laner. We don't really know anymore. It's just too hard to say. But now it's going to be the push here by Team Expired. They want to come straight down towards his mid inner turret.
This is an interesting, I don't know, I feel like the game was so heavily in control of Shift, and now the power has shifted towards Expired. And like, I feel like it's going to come down to how well Zank can play a team fight. He's got the Janna to support him, he's got a Maokai to peel for him. And it seems like all of Shift are focusing the Xerath. So all of them putting all their eggs in one basket. Corki's been getting free hits, and you can see that's coming into effect so powerfully. He's getting free kills on the Wukong, who's not exactly a tank champion. In fact, he's got no defensive items, he's got mobility boots, and he keeps getting caught.
Yeah, I don't know. It looks like it's not a solid Q build for Ramble. Just he prioritizes his damage very, very highly. I mean, the Ruby Crystal's been picked up. It might be looking towards a Phage and eventually a Triforce. But again, how defensive really is that item? Let's be honest. They're going to take away the Scuttle Crab here, and another setup for Dragon. A little bit premature here. Still a minute and 30 seconds to go before that one is going to be there for the taking. It will be Shift's third of the game if they can secure that one now. But as it stands, I mean, gold is quite even, kills quite even. It's an extra 2 turrets going over towards Shift, so they do have that advantage, and you can see them trying to make use of that as they come forward. But it's a ton of wards from Expired, especially over the mid and Baron pit sort of area. So it's going to be all about getting that vision. We know that Ramble wants to be coming in to a fight unexpectedly. He wants to have an element of surprise about his movements here. You can see how they're positioned around this mid brush, sitting on top of the pink wall. The sapling in there is going to let the cat out of the bag, really, and now everyone forced to back away from that one. Shift realize that they don't really have an opportunity to get in onto a fight in that manner. They're going to have to try for something else.
Yeah, Shift was sitting on a pink ward. They were looking to find a cheeky position where the Wukong can get underneath them and just engage from the get-go. He's building a lot of damage, but Wukong scales so well with that damage that it's fair enough for him to do so. And I mean, right now, Corki's got his Infinity Edge Trinity Force. He is a force to be reckoned with, and being 8-1, he's got to be the focus right now of Ramble. Otherwise, I've struggled to see them winning a team fight without the Corki dead.
Well, Rumble's about to transform here, so might be an opportunity, or at least a lot of threat coming out of that Mega Narb right now. You can see Hamilton actually really just trying to dodge the boomerang as much as he possibly could. He just didn't want to get slowed up. But here we go. Straight in comes Rebel. Zenk's going to get out of that one. Pawpaw actually going to be able to collect himself there as well. There was absolutely no follow-up for the Wukong there. Rumble now in the middle of the fight, getting blown away by the Monsoon straight into the wall. Hamilton Mappers will get beat on, but that's not the target that Shift really want to go for right now. Outlast forced to back away as well. Eye of Destruction going down. Fesh wants to go for that Xerath. He's going to get stunned up there. A lot of damage down towards Nidalee. Should almost be enough. He's going to force the flash away as well. Even the Frogs getting involved in the fight as well. Fesh managed to pick up Zenk there now. Pawpaw having to back away, does use the barrier. Rumble chasing now. Is it going to be enough damage? Romp is getting involved in this fight. Pawpaw does go down, but also it will be a trade-off there as Ricky did pick up Rumble there as well. Fesh now going to jump over the wall, going towards Ricky now. Ricky, last man standing. It's going to be all over. Fesh is easily going to be able to close. Frost Queen's claim used, but to no avail. It's an ace, and only 2 members lost for shit there. It's not looking good at all for Team Expired.
There's a teleport coming out here though from Maokai. Is going to deny the dragon from being taken at all. Going to look to zone them off. So that was a good outcome in the end. But I mean, I thought Expired were going to win that fight, to be perfectly honest with you. They disengaged so well. They instantly killed the Wukong. They caught everyone. But Fesh just had such a big impact with hitting spears and executing people throughout that entire fight. It was phenomenal.
You could see that there was a lack of follow-up for Ramble. That was very plain to see, of course. There was a flash and it was Valkyrie jumping, getting to the back line to try and turn around. And they did. They blew up Ramble straight away. But then there was almost a secondary engage where Hamilton this time was caught with 0 follow-up. He went in and his team had already stepped well and truly back away from the perimeter of the fight because they didn't want to get caught by Ramble. Then they had to turn on the heel and come back into the fight. By which point, Fesh was already coming around on the outside right, and it forced Pawpaw and Zeke to focus on the Nidalee. And of course, the Gromp was doing damage, and I mean, it was like a food fight by that point. It was just getting really, really messy. But both teams had sort of their own mini engages where there was not enough follow-up there. So I mean, I guess it stands to reason now. Fesh, is going to be definitely a good cleanup crew with the execute. But Dragon prevented Hamilton with a clever teleport down there. You really don't want to let that bleed get any worse. So now Dragons was definitely being looked at. It was picked up here as well by Expired. So crucially enough for them, they get their bonuses.
I think it's safe to say at this point in time that Nidalee is hitting one of her biggest power spikes with this and the next item that she gets possible. She's first 2 items that she bought put her at max CDR, so she can focus everything from now on straight ability power and be that massive threat. AP Nidalee does so much damage if it connects, and you can tell that he knows what he's doing with them spears because they're all connecting. And I mean, you've got big items on. You got a death cap finish now for Xerath. Even though he's 2-5, he's still got all those items. Like the poke, the damage, the siege, it's all still possible. You just have to I don't know. It's a really weird team comp from Shift. I feel like they've got Wukong hard engaging, but then they've still got Nidalee wanting to poke from the side. So, like, you have so many threats at so many different angles and so many different ways that they could engage or fight or just not fight and poke. You really need to push what you want to do as Expired, and what they want to do right now is they want to try and get a lead. They want to try and they can't do Dragon, it's down. They probably want to secure Baron Vision and then look to maybe top tower because it's the only outer one left, but you want to be the one setting the pace. If you're not setting the pace, Shift can do essentially what they want with you, and that's not going to work out well.
Okay, let's see the next part of this game. Of course, now we're transitioning a little bit more into the mid and late. The Baron is becoming a little bit more interesting, or a little bit more of an objective where these teams kind of want to fight over. Okay, the Dragon's been taken out, so it's going to be down for a little while. And I'll just point out as well that Expired were fighting very well against the guys from Shift, even with their 2 Dragon bonuses on them. Now that Expired have that 6% AD and AP for the whole team, it's going to make them even more potent in a fight. And look, so much about these 2 teams depends on how the team fights are fought. Who engages? Who disengages? Do they disengage far enough back? Are they there to be able to provide follow-up when their front line engages? A similar situation to what we saw over the last Dragon. Hamilton was in there, his team wasn't, and that was a result of them trying to back right away. So communication is going to be ridiculously important at this stage. We have to wait and see if it's going to be on point here. Expired, probably the team with a bit more expectation on them at this stage. They were a little bit behind, but now, also scaling started to become an issue as well. Let's talk about that, Rusty. Who is looking better as we go into the late game?
When it comes to scaling, I feel like both of these teams are very strong scaling. Corki has a mid-game spike, but he's still going to be relevant in the late game. He still does a phenomenal amount of damage. Same with Lucian. The champion, I would say, is stronger early game. still relevant all game. He's just got so much mobility. He's got dashes every 5 seconds. He's got boots 1 right now, and he's still not even dying very easily. I mean, it's in terms of which team scales better, I feel like both teams have really strong scaling physical and magic damage. They both have a tank. It's just, as you said, it's just going to come down to which team can fight better. They're blowing up Wukong every round, but if they don't blow him up, then they'll probably lose that fight straight off the bat.
Okay, let's see how it works out. I mean, Wukong is going to be a massive factor now. Tiamat, it's a Black Cleaver. It's also a Last Whisper. This guy's all about the damage. He's kind of like he's a glass cannon, and I think he's happy being that way. If he can disrupt and do enough damage in those team fights, Ramble's job is essentially done. And there's follow-up for Fesh and Acidic to sort of do a bit of clean-up crew work here. But now, neither team has really tried to get into any sort of fight over the last couple of minutes. Again, that Dragon now being such a much more important milestone than it was in the past. These teams are leaving the stashing and the argy-bargy for when they can translate a fight into that Dragon. So we'll have to wait and see. Alright, the Arcane being used here on towards Acidic and Outlast. Standing there with the shield. Don't know if that'll block it, but the aim wasn't as good this time from Paw. The heal, though, is strong from Fish, and that's going to keep that Lucian strong enough to hang around in that lane a little bit more. But now, Juice, the first one at the site of the Dragon, still a minute away, but he's definitely wanting to set up his Scuttle Crab. Can I just say, I'm a big fan of the Crab, and they're going to be taking it away as well. Expired going to have that for pretty much for when Dragon spawns. So now it's going to be a matter of, can Shift bully their way onto the area and deny that area of move speed away from Expired? Or are they just going to try and fight them even with their move speed? Because it makes a difference, I'm telling you. Especially when you're trying to get away from a Wukong jumping on you, Rusty. That's going to come in very handy.
Oh, very much so. It's pretty much like a Shirelia's for the entire team at any stage you walk on it. Like, you'll look to see, as that just happened, Nidalee will probably throw spears for the entire lead up to the Dragon fight until it's at a situation where, I think it already is, to be honest with you, Xerath's extremely low, that they can just take control. And now that they've got control, they're going to get rid of all of Expired's wards, they're going to secure their own vision, and they're going to prevent them from getting near the Dragon while it gets taken. And I mean, this is Nidalee coming into her stride completely here. One spear on the Xerath, and they have to all back off.
Tell you what, Rusty, you say, and they do. They push straight on in, and this Dragon's going to go like that. Already picked up there. That would be Dragon number 3, if I'm not mistaken. Oh, Rumble still wants to fight this one with the Monsoon. A decent disengage tool. Blue buff's going to go to Acidic there as well. So, I don't know, a lot of bullying happening here, and looks like Team Expired have been on the receiving end of it for the most part there. No fight. The blue taken away, Monsoon used by Ricky Raccoon. Now, do Expired want to re-engage on this one? You can see Juice is out the front of the pack looking for a target for the Q. Remember, that Cyclone is still available. No, it'll be a disengage with the Winter's Bite thrown. It's a cautionary salvo. Both teams to back away.
Yeah, there wasn't much that Expired could do for that Dragon. I mean, they had control of the area, but as I said before, one spear pretty much turned the tide of what was going to happen there as Juice gets a bit caught here.
Oh, the 1v1 is real. There's the dash away. Juice realizes a little bit too late that he can't actually fight this one. But what's the coming? But it was a very good Howling Gale there from Ricky Raccoon just to prevent any flash, any jump over that wall at all. Hamilton now looked like he was caught, but Pawpaw's there with a follow-up. A lot of damage going to go towards Outlast. Forced his flash over the pit as well. Acidic is just trying to do his red buff and wondering why all this blood is flying everywhere from his teammates, but he'll have to back away from that one as well. Both teams now, still, you can see they're chomping at the bit. After that Dragon, you know that Expired are a little bit salty getting shoved off that objective. They want to fight, and they know that they need to do it pretty soon.
Yeah, definitely. You can feel the need from Expired right now as a pause comes out of them wanting to fight. Like, you can't just let a team bully you around, especially not with the team comp that they have. The Nidalee Spears, the Wukong hard engage, the Lucian poke, Braum being a brick wall, and Rumble even Flash trying to engage before being monsooned away. They're trying to set the pace, and Expired are looking to break that pace to put them out of their stride to be able to control more so what's happening around the map and push it back in their direction. But sometimes that can be a big risk, and if you, for example, try and catch someone out and you don't have vision, takes too long to kill them, you could get aced for it, and that could be the game. Like, it's a really situation to be in right now, and I feel like Shift have all the control, and Expired are the ones that need to react now and make a power play and find a way back into this game.
Oh, and look, and let's be honest, the margin of error for Expired is a lot narrower, okay? If they eat a Nidalee Spear, see you later. If they get jumped on by Wukong, see you later. There are less options for them to mount a strong defense. There are a lot of factors. There are a lot of ifs on the side of Expired here. If we're in position, if Xerath doesn't get chunked, if Zenk is still okay, because there's so much that Shift can do for free, essentially, to stymie any sort of setup. All right, then they can just throw spears. All right, it's low risk, high reward scenario, really, especially when you're fighting over an objective. That's why she's so strong, because she will just try and chuck the enemy down. It's no cost to her if she misses a spear, but if she hits that one straight away, a massive spanner in the works for expired strategy they're trying to set up. The health is so important to them right now. They can't afford to have this because there's too much dive. There's too much ability for Shift to jump on top of Xerath or for that matter to jump on top of Corki. They both have flash up right now, which is good. They're going to need it. They're definitely going to need it in this next fight because you know that there's going to be a lot of attention towards Zenk and Pawpaw, probably even more so there. Zenk's 9-2, can I just say? So that's his second BF sword into his build. Looks like a Bloodthirst to pick up. So he's starting to get pretty big now. The unpause has come in and we are ready to go.
I do like the, as you said, the second BF sword there for Corki. It's like the team of Shift don't have all that much resistance. They have an extremely glass cannon Wukong, who's the one jumping onto Zenk. Having that extra damage, that extra, I'd call it sustain from the lifesteal and the overshield, is going to put Corki in a really good position to kill the Wukong before trying to help the rest of the team. Problem is, what if Na gets onto him? And as you've said, you know, like there's such a small margin for error that Expired can make. One mistake could cost them the game, whereas I feel like if they catch someone from Shift, they can still do their thing, you know, like I feel like they've got control and it's all a mindset thing. If I was on Expired right now, I would feel like I'm 2-5, which 3 of them are. I'm not doing too well, and right now the 6-4 Wukong is jumping on my face constantly. How do I react to this? We need to kill him, and then you completely disregard everything else. And that margin for error, which is such a small thing, is a glaring issue because you've got the Na and the Nidalee from the side constantly being a threat, and those spears, like one of them is the game.
Okay, well, we are ready again. A little bit of a lag issue, I think, for some of the members of Shift, but very well timed, actually, after that little passage there from Prophet Rusty. Let's see, though, while we're talking about margins of error, let's see, though, if these can sort of be overcome here by Expired. If they can sort of stack the odds a bit further in their favour, because you don't really feel like it is in their favour, really, like if you look at it, and it's going to be up to them to really set things up a little bit more favourably here. So it's 4 towers to 3 as well, while we're on that note. And it's a small gold lead yet again. It is 3 dragons though. Getting close to that number 5. There's 5 dragons that's really got to make the guys from Shift an absolute force to be reckoned with. And at some point, something's got to give. At some point, Expired really have to invest that little bit more in those team fights. That could A, result in them winning them around Dragon, of course, letting them pick up the Dragon, or B, result in them getting completely aced and wrecked. So the risk ratio now starts to increase as well for the guys from Expired. They need to start playing a little bit more risky if they want to prevent this game from getting away from them. That's kind of how the whole Dragon scenario is working in the game at the moment. So we might see a little bit more aggression, a little bit more coming forward, a little bit more people trying to secure picks or force fights or anything like that. The fact of the matter is that Expired need to be comfortable with just going in ham. They need to go absolutely ham at this stage and pick off those key targets. I mean, the problem is that a counter-engage from Wukong while your team is busy trying to kill the other team is going to be devastating. So, in some senses, Expired don't really, Rusty, want to go headlong into a fight.
Yeah, and I mean, as they're doing the Baron right now, it's entirely on momentum. You feel like you're behind whether you are or not. You're not sure of the gold difference, so you play like it, and you can see that from them now.
Oh, there we go. There it is. The knockaway is very, very good. The Cyclone pretty much doing nothing there, and Hamilton is going to be able to survive through that one. Now, Juice trying to go for a steal, though. He got picked up. The Baron went over, got Shift and the kill. Acidic did pick up Juice in the process. So, I mean, pats on the back to the guys from Expired for not getting decimated by Cyclone, but they lost that Dragon as well. I mean, the Monsoon went on just on top of Maokai's head there. Juice went in on his own to try and steal it away. I don't know, Rusty, I feel like that should have been a fight, a re-engage, not worrying so much about the Baron, but more so just killing the people with the buff at that point.
Yeah, definitely, and this is pretty much exemplifying the point that I was just about to make before they secured that Baron, was that it's League of Legends, especially competitive, is almost entirely momentum-based. Like, yeah, there's mechanics, decision-making, teamwork, but momentum plays such a big part. Like, you could see there was this one period where Shift were really far ahead, Expired, managed to pick off kills, they took a Dragon, momentum shifted to them. They felt like they were in control. And then one more Dragon goes to Shift, one more lost teamfight goes to Shift, and suddenly you feel like you're behind, irrespective of the gold difference, irrespective of scores. You get that momentum, like all of a sudden it's shifted towards Shift. And they now have control, and there's nothing you can do about it.
Well, control, the name of the game right now, especially with Dragon now being looked at and possibly for the 4th time here from Shift. And that's really when you got to start sweating. You know, it's fairly frequent respawns here. So, you know, every time that comes up, the guys from Expired are looking over there with beady eyes, hoping they can pick that one up. There's a lot of damage going on towards Rambo there. It looks like he wanted to actually go towards Paw in that case, but probably a heal if I'm not mistaken. No, he'll just recall with that empowered half duration recall. Ramble heading back to base, going to heal up, going to come back, and he'll be in time for Dragons. So no harm, no foul.
Yeah, basically, and you'll see they'll probably want to recall now Dragon in 50 seconds. They want to make sure they all have their items there as strong as possible, maybe get wards, secure some vision where possible, poke your way towards it. You can see that Shift have the control right now as they look to try and steal the blue buff away from Expired, and it's basically given to them for free because they feel like they can't contest it.
All right, Juice puts a Q in on towards that blue buff, but he's not going to be able to contest that one at all. Another situation where control is definitely sliding over towards Shift. They've got the Baron buff, no less. Remember that, so pushing those waves in under those towers is going to be that much easier, and you can see they're doing just that right now. It's essentially a full strength squad here from Expired, but they are going to allow that tower to fall just because they just don't know what's happening. The Fesh was on the side there, and that's a sucky position to be in when you try and deal with Nidalee. You saw they put the ward down there just adjacent to that lane, in that little laneway, because Fesh was just going to be throwing wards out of there willy-nilly. Here's the group up there. It was a good check by Juice, but Hamilton goes straight in. A lot of damage on towards him as well. Where's the follow-up though? They're going for a big one into the back line. He's just going to get shredded down. Outlast did go quite low there, but yeah, here's the jump on towards Hamilton. Mattress is still alive. Frost Queen's claim used there. Ricky will probably drop. Oceanic tries to come in. No, Ricky's still standing somehow, and both teams managed to disengage for the most part at least. If Juice can get away, that will be it. Very lucky. Very lucky for Team Expired to get away without losing anyone there. It was a good setup. Well, as I say, that Outlast and Hamilton now going to start duking it out. Outlast obviously not a huge amount of damage, but here comes Fesh, and of course here comes Ramble. That will be a tree getting well and truly caught out. I didn't quite see that. I thought he would get away, but Expired losing their top laner, their front line, and another Dragon.
Oh, that was close. They were recalling. He was recalling in a very dangerous position, I suppose. He thought he was safe there, and Braum came out of nowhere to deny that. And Braum with the CC has constant slows. There's not much you can do to escape, so he had to sacrifice. But you can see, like, the team fight was close. Like, the goal difference wasn't that substantial in terms of items, but such a small, like, they came out ahead only on a bit of health, and they can freely take the Dragon because they have got control of the entire area. And they're going to look to push that through now that they've got 4 Dragons, I think it is. They had the Baron buff at the time. I think that's run off now. They've still got just such a big lead in terms of gold now from all of these small changes in control.
Oh god, that's not good. That's a Cyclone right onto the Paw. Great flash over the wall though. Will it be enough? The Jude still caught amongst the entirety of Shift now. Zenk trying to back away. That's the second kill as well. Look at Rumble coming forward, trying to get the slow on towards Zenk. He will be able to sidestep that one and keep trying to escape. Spear will connect. There comes the ultimate out from Braum. Doesn't connect though as well, but Fesh is there to clean up. And now Hamilton Mattress is caught. He's under his own tower, but there's a lot of people belting his head in, and this looks like it might be a death knell here for Team Expired. And all they needed was that one Cyclone engage, of course, from Ramble. They have such a broad margin here for error. They can sort of get away with wayward engages and mistaken sidesteps and all that sort of stuff, but you know what? Expired can't. They can't afford to make even the slightest mistake. That's how you know you've outdrafted a team.
Yeah, exactly right, to be honest with you. That's how you know you've picked a better, well-rounded team comp. And as I was saying, in draft, you know, like, I felt like Expired just picked champions they wanted because they felt comfortable on the champions, but coming up against what feels like an actual thought-out team comp, it just doesn't seem like it has as big an impact.
Well, as we talk about impact, that was the ace, of course, and the Nexus, should I say, does fall, and it was just a matter of building up to that critical mass, you know, fight after fight. You could see that Shift was slowly starting to increase their momentum, as you said, until they became absolute juggernauts, and it was just one fight that had to be reasonably well in their favour. And in fact, it was Expired who were pushing, who were coming forward. They were seeking the opportunity to start a fight, but you know, they really just didn't have anything to back it up. Their positioning was poor. They got caught on the back foot, and then of course Shift came straight through and destroyed them. So that's actually going to be Expired knocked out of this tournament, unfortunately for them. And Shift are going to be moving along here in the losers bracket. And I'll tell you what, you've got to handle it. Ramble really had control of that early part of the game. He and Fesh, with 2 decidedly unconventional picks, really made a huge impact in this game.
Yeah, and it's you know, the champions you play, if you main the champion, you're going to learn how to have an impact on it. And they played them both superbly. You can tell Ramble hit level 6, he roamed, he did his thing, and he did it well. And like a secured control of the top lane, he ended up getting a sneaky kill in the river. He was just everywhere. And Fesh on that Nidalee, it's not a high impact champion in jungling phase, like in the early phase, but once he came to that 40% CDR stage with the Morellos and his jungle item, one spear, like it is filthy, and it's not something you're used to either. So like it puts you on the back foot already. You've picked your comfortable team comp and you're against a group of champions that you're not really familiar with, and that shined through.
Okay, well, as the smoke clears, as the blood and guts is slowly swept away by the janitor, who's probably Juves now. That's probably his job after sort of being knocked out of this tournament. So he's looking for work, by the way. We are pretty much sort of the end of today's games. Round 3 has pretty much finished. So we can see here that on our bracket, round 4, Team 4-Not will be moving towards to round 4 for tomorrow. And Enzo and Rich Gang will be playing that one as well. Obviously, Shit will move ahead. And they'll be going up against Righteous Hyper Carry in the lower bracket round number 3. Just waiting on a bit of confirmation from our producer as to whether that we were going to be continuing on tonight. I think for the most